Today, I'm going to tell you about a time when I said yes to seeing a client, actually, a couple of clients that I had absolutely no business trying to work with. Yeah, it was funny. So, what happened was this couple was referred to me for some couples therapy, and I thought I could see them. English was their second language. Actually, it was the guy had a little bit of English. The wife had none. Their primary language was Spanish. And for some crazy reason, I thought I could handle that. I thought I could do psychotherapy in Spanish because I had just spent 5 or 6 weeks in Guatemala in the middle of an adoption when we were bringing home our second child. And I did fine there. My limited high school Spanish served me quite well. I didn't have any trouble ordering in a restaurant or figuring out the bus schedules, or for that matter, handling the craziness that an international adoption entails. None of that meant I had any business trying to do therapy in a language in which I wasn't fluent. So it didn't go that well, and I didn't see them very long because, of course, it didn't take me long to realize that this was not going to work. And I did the right thing. I referred them to a Spanish speaking colleague of mine who worked with couples, and I apologized like crazy and sent them on their way. But I learned a lot from that about how important it is that we say no to people that we should not be seeing and yes to the ones that we should. Now, if you watched my last video, then you know all about that because in the last video, I taught you exactly what to say and how to handle it when you need to turn someone away. Now, that might sound kind of crazy to you if you are just getting started or your practice isn't full yet. You may wonder, why would you ever turn anybody away? But this is a really good example of why that might happen. In my experience, many of you, it's like you don't have trouble getting clients. You have trouble getting the right clients. In fact, a lot of you are seeing people that you don't want to see, that you don't have time to see, or that you're really just not well suited for one reason or another. There are lots of reasons that this happens. The two that I see most often are when you say yes to a client because you're just afraid. If you're coming from a place of fear or lack, you may fear that if you say no to a potential client, that means no one else is ever going to call you anymore again, and you're going to end up broke and busted. I get that because I did a lot of that early on. On the other hand, what I see, especially today, is that a lot of you are seeing clients because you're coming from a place of guilt. You are the kind of person who cares deeply about the folks that you serve. And at the time that I'm recording this, we're in the middle of the pandemic, and a lot of people are really struggling. And those of us who are in the healthcare world, many of you are seeing people because you feel sorry for them and because you want to help as many as possible. And I get that, y'all, but that's not doing anybody any good. You're no good if you're burned out and fried. You're not helping them, you're not helping yourself. So I encourage you to learn how to say no to people who are not a good fit for you. And let's instead learn how to say yes to the ones who are. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing you have to do is figure out who that person is. Who is an ideal client for you? Who do you absolutely love serving? Who are you good with? Who do you know are the kind of people that you should be seeing? And then the second thing you do, once you've got that, is make sure you are communicating that clearly across the board. Now, I can think of 4 or 5 places that this is most likely to come up. The first one is with your colleagues, the people you are in practice with, or the people you network with, or that you're in a professional association with, or allied professionals who tend to refer to you? Do they all know who you really want to see? And do they know the kind of referrals you don't want to see? If not, they need to. The second place you want to make sure you communicate this is online, in any kind of online profile that you have. That may be something, if you're a mental health professional, you may have a profile on psychologytoday.com. But if you're an energy healer, a Reiki practitioner, a massage therapist, you may have your own database where you post those kinds of things. If not, it may be something as simple as your Facebook business page or your Instagram bio or your website. That's the third place. You want to make sure this is clear. On your website, especially on your About page, do you have a bunch of stuff about your credentials and your training and where you went to school and what kind of techniques you use? Or do you talk about who you are good with, who you help and why, and who you love to work with? That's what needs to be there. And the last couple of places I can think of where you have an opportunity to communicate this clearly is in your voicemails or your phone, what you say on the phone, and in an email response you give to a potential client. So if people email you just straight out through your email address or maybe through the Contact Us page on your website, I hope you have a template of some sort that you copy and paste to send back to them that says, I'm so glad you reached out to me. Thank you. I'm not sure what you're looking for. I do best with, or I have a special gift for, or I really love helping people who, and describe what your ideal client is like. And that will help. Or on the phone, when people call you about your services. I talked a few weeks ago about how and when you might want to use a script for that. And that would be a great place to make sure you have this kind of nailed down. Bottom line, get clear about who your ideal client is and be ready to recognize that and describe that in all the different ways that referrals are going to come to you. And when you do that, what you will find is that people self-select, and those who are not right won't call you and won't email you, which saves you time and energy, and it means you don't have to say no as often. Now, I have one little extra bonus for you that's going to sound a little bit crazy, but that is, not only do I want you to communicate who your ideal client is, but I also want you to say who it isn't. Who don't you work with, or who won't want to work with you? Who don't you work with, and who won't want to work with you? A quick example of this: several years ago, I realized that I was often apologizing for being a little pushy. I believe so strongly in my clients that I tend to push them because I think that they can do more than they give themselves credit for. And there was a moment when I had an aha, when I realized I should stop apologizing for that and start to embrace it. And so I did. And I changed my Psychology Today profile to reflect that. And I said something like, if you're looking for someone who's going to nod their head and go, I'm probably not the right one for you. On the other hand, if you're looking for someone who will tell you what they really think and will shoot straight with you, then we should have a conversation. And you would be astonished at how much business I've gotten just from that one tiny tweak to my marketing. So here's what I want you to do. Go look at what you're telling people about who you work with. Where are you clear and where are you a little fuzzy? And clean it up. And what you will find is you get calls and emails and referrals from people who really are right for you. And you'll love that. It will feel good to you. And you'll waste less energy on folks that really shouldn't have been calling you to begin with. Okay? So that's what I want you to do today. Now, when you do this, you're still going to get a lot of calls because you're good at what you do. And when word gets out that you are especially good in this way, you might get even more referrals. And then we have to figure out, how do you weed them out then? How do you select who you say yes to? Well, I gotta practice for that as well. That's what we're going to talk about next. Watch for that in our next video. And with that, I'm going to let you go. One more thing that I almost forgot to say. If you like getting tips like this that are really kind of practical that you can use right now, then you're going to love the new ebook that I've put together for you. It's called 31 Practical Ways to Increase Your Cash Flow in Your Private Practice without being salesy or sleazy or somebody you don't even like. And it's full of really good nuts and bolts about things you can do right now today to make more money in your practice. I think you'll love it because every single thing in there is something that I have used successfully myself. Check that out at wendypittsreeves.com/cashflow to get your own copy today. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.